All right, when I talked about CSS syntax, you've seen that the selector, it has a selector, property, and a value. And I mentioned that selector can be uh, a tag name, a class, or ID. That's what we are going to talk about in this video. So what are the different types of selectors? The common types of selectors are HTML element name, that's what we use so far. We use body, H1, H2, any tag can be a selector. The second category of selectors is class selector. And then you have ID selector and the contextual selector. Now let's talk about the class selector. Class selector helps you to apply the CSS rule to one or more elements on a web page. What you have to do is, in your HTML page, you have to set aside or you have to name a part of your HTML web page using a attribute called class. For example, in this particular tag, you are naming the specific area with a name new. It can be any name. So you would say class equals new. You can use the same name in different parts of your website, and in your CSS rules you would use dot new and you apply the styling rules. So then what happens is, wherever you put the new class name, all those content will have attributes that you specified here, the color or fonts, whatnot. So you can have different portions of your website with the same class name, and all of them will have, you can apply same styling to all of them. So the class will allow you to have different parts of your website grouped together with a common name, and make sure that when you have a class, uh, you don't simply say the name, you have to start with a dot. So that is the class selector. So let's do something with a class selector. So first we are going to the HTML page, and then maybe I want to uh, make this as I'm going to give a class name. I'm going to say that intro or something like that, intro. And I want to format this and maybe this part of this line also similar way. So I'm going to give it the same name too, intro. So what we did here is to name these two specific sections. You can have more places with the same class name, and I'm going to use this as the selector and going to apply some common formatting to it. So I will save this, then I will go back to my CSS and I will start with dot intro, that was my name, and then I would say background color. I'm going to pick some random color. If you want to use the hexadecimal, you need to have that pound sign. So maybe something more reddish, FF with some blue, green, and blue. All right, and maybe hopefully it will be a lighter color. I'm going to say that color black. Okay, so that intro sections, the spaces where I said it should be called intro should have that color. We would find out what that color would be, and since it is in the CSS file, you don't have to do anything else, it's already attached. So I'm going to bring that web page up and see what happens. All right, it looks like the color is more uh, reddish. So I'm going to go ahead and make it to, let me see, just blue. Alright, let's see what happens here. Alright, that's not the problem. Let me go back. Okay, problem is I didn't have that semicolon. Hopefully that's a problem. Alright, so this is the color. So in those two places where I said it should be called class, you can see that color got changed. If you want to make sure it really did that, I want to change it to blue now, and see those two places got changed. So the background color is blue. So basically class means you are setting aside some part of your website with the same name, so you can group them together. Basically class is to group contents together. The next kind is ID. Next selector is ID. ID means it can apply only to one element. That means if I called an element or some space, a section, with an ID name, I cannot use that name again. So it applies only to one element or one page. For example, here, if I say ID new, I cannot use that new in any other parts of a web page. So once you have an ID, you would have the pound sign. So I would have pound new, and then you have the color or all the CSS rules. So if it is an ID, you should use the pound sign. So that is the difference between ID and class selector. Class selector uses the dot and the ID uses the pound. So I'm going to go ahead and use an ID in somewhere, maybe in here in H2, or maybe in here in P. I'm going to say that ID equals um, teach, something like that. All right, and in your style I'm going to say that pound teach. Okay, pound teach, maybe background color green, color red. Okay, just for that specific space. So I'll go back. So you'll have, it has that green and red color combination. So that is how you use ID. It's just for one specific space. Um, so that is the use of class and ID. I will come to the contextual and also how you can use div tag to have sections of in the next video.